Tonight, on an emergency episode of The Vince Dow Show, Tucker Carlson has been let go by Fox and Don Lemon terminated by CNN in the same day. What the heck is going on? We're going to talk all about it and tell you why, in many ways, this is a new day for the future of the media industry itself. That's tonight on our emergency episode of The Vince Dow Show. Stay tuned, everyone. We are live tonight from the great state of Florida. Welcome everyone to the Vince Dow Show. I am your host, Vince Dow. What's up? I keep forgetting to say it. Let me say that again. Welcome, Galaxy Brainers, to the Vince Dow Show. I am your host, Vince Dow. And before we begin, everyone be sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe if you are new to the channel. We normally do this show live every Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. However, we're doing it specially tonight at 5 p.m. Eastern Time because, you know, it was such a crazy news day with all this stuff, and I knew if we wait all the way until 8 p.m. Eastern Time, everyone will already have done their videos about it, everyone will have talked about it, and I wanted it to be somewhat still sort of relevant news before you've seen it all done to death by everyone. But on that topic, before we begin tonight, I do have a question for you guys, which is, would you like to see our normal start time of the show changed? And here's what I'm thinking, because right now we do the show at 8 p.m. Eastern Time every night, and the reason we have to do it like that is because I'm in school right now, right? And so it kind of takes me a certain amount of the time out of the day to prep the show. And so normally, like, I need 8 p.m. Eastern Time because I need to spend the day prepping the show and doing everything. But obviously, summer is coming up, right? And so I'm thinking during the summer, if you guys like it, if you guys want, we could move the show, probably not this early, but say to like 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Let me know, would that work better or worse for you guys? Because there were some advantages and disadvantages to 8 p.m., right? The thing about 8 p.m. Eastern Time when we normally do this show is that it is prime time, right? So the good part of that is it's prime time. Everyone's home. Most people are on their phones on YouTube. The bad side of it is that it means you are competing with everything, right? Tim Pool, Tucker Carlson formerly, right? They all go live at 8, that exact time slot. And I always get this one guy who comments, "You're an idiot." I think the exact terminology is that I'm a retard. He calls me a retard every single time I go live because you're competing with Tim Pool. And so, I mean, let me know if you guys would want that done or not. Do you guys want us to move the start time normally up starting in the summer? Let me know. I'll put out a formal poll at some point to figure that out. But I don't know. Let me know in live chat if you think that would work better or worse for you guys if we moved it up to like 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Anyways, we are at 27 likes. Let's get to 50 likes before we begin the show tonight. And if you want to support the show or you have questions, comments, or thoughts that you want read on the live stream, and I'm sure many of us have lots of those right now, feel free to send them in via a super chat. I will check the chats regularly throughout the night in between all of our segments. We will do our Q&A as usual. And also, I finally have a payment processor set up, okay? So, you know, obviously, you're free to donate here on YouTube. I understand it's easier. I understand it's convenient. The only thing about YouTube donations is it takes 30% of every donation, which sucks for me because I only get 70% of your money, but then also it sucks for you because I'm sure you don't want to be sending 30% of the money you send to me to YouTube. So I have a Streamlabs link set up. It's in the pinned comment on the live chat. Hopefully it works. I'm pretty sure it works. I was testing it out earlier today. Let me know if you have any problems, but that you can integrate that with debit card or with PayPal. So again, Streamlabs link pinned in the live chat if you want to donate to support the show. It is all greatly appreciated, and you know, as usual, we will read them out loud, and it helps the show and all that stuff. Okay, well, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let me actually just pull up the Streamlabs thing here so that way I have it for you. Hold on, let's see. I could probably do it in a second. All right, I'll do it later. Anyways, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the show tonight. All right. Well, today, folks, opening segment. Today is an entirely new day for conservative media. There are some ways in which what is happening right now is good. There are some ways in which it is bad. But tonight we are going to break down all of it. We open, of course, with the insane news that Tucker Carlson, folks, and I'm sure you've heard, but if you have not by now, Tucker Carlson has been let go from Fox News as of 12 p.m. or so Eastern time today. The statement is here on the screen. It doesn't really say anything. It doesn't really give a reason. But, you know, in some ways, this had always seemed inevitable. We've always known that Tucker Carlson is like the one guy at Fox that in many ways is authentically conservative. And so, of course, there was always a thought in all of our minds collectively that at some point Tucker's going to get canned. And it has now happened. But in other ways, it seemed very impossible to happen, right? Because in some ways, yes, he is controversial, but also he has always been something of an entrenched entity at Fox. Tucker Carlson was the guy single-handedly carrying Fox News on his back. He was the only person that many of us ever went to Fox to see. And so in some ways, it seemed like this would never happen. It actually now, as you can see, is happening. But the day has come, right? Tucker Carlson is gone from Fox News. Now, while they have not given a formal reason for why this is happening, I would venture to speculate that this is connected to the Fox News and Dominion lawsuit, right? So I believe last week, Fox News actually settled a $700 million defamation lawsuit with Dominion, that election company that you might remember that whole ordeal, right? But Tucker was implicated big in that case. So I don't know if that's Fox trying to save face. I don't know if it was a part of the deal, a part of the settlement that they had to let go of Fox. I'm not exactly sure, but regardless, it doesn't really matter. Tucker Carlson is gone from Fox News, and now we ought to just look to the future and assess what it really means. So what does it mean now that Fox is releasing Tucker Carlson? Well, first of all, I will say this. This very likely spells the end of Fox News. We both know this, okay? Not only are they losing almost $1 billion from the lawsuit, the total number I believe I've been seeing reported is like $930 million, I believe. But they also left one of the, they also, got rid of one of the few things that was actually still driving revenue to the company. Fox News is nothing without Tucker Carlson and has not been for several years. And I know a lot of people are comparing this to Bill O'Reilly. Oh, well, they got rid of Bill O'Reilly in 2016 and they were fine. The difference here is that this is a different situation and a different world. Because first off, when Bill left Fox back in the day, back in 2016, whenever that happened, Fox still had a solid bullpen of other talent to choose from. Obviously, Tucker Carlson, right, was the very guy who took Bill O'Reilly's place back in the day, okay? So Bill O'Reilly obviously was the most popular thing on Fox News, but he was simply a part of Fox News. He was not like Tucker Carlson was now, the single guy carrying an entire network on his back. So that's first and foremost, and that's why I would say, this A spells the end of Fox News, and B, you can't compare this to Bill O'Reilly because it's not the same situation. And secondly, back in 2016, let us also remember this. There was no popular discontentment with Fox among conservatives the way there is now, right? Nobody back in 2016, back when Bill O'Reilly left, obviously people were unhappy about it, but nobody talked on such a regular basis about how Fox News sucks and is all neocons, right? There was never this just collective understanding that none of us liked Fox News. Whereas, nowadays, most of our base is not happy with Fox News and has not been happy for some time. Okay, so they're already kind of teetering on the brink here as a network. And now Tucker is gone. What does that mean? And thirdly, and most importantly, let me say this, the reason why this spells the end of Fox News is because Fox did not have any major competitors back when they let Bill O'Reilly go in 2015, 2016. Back then, Yes, everyone was like, oh no, Bill O'Reilly's gone. But back then, Fox News was a monopoly on conservative media. Now they have competitors on the airwaves, such as Newsmax, and like you and I, they have competitors on the internet, right? Which is another big thing. That's your Daily Wires, your Blaze TV, Rumble. All of the stuff that wasn't around back then is around now. So again, in my opinion, maybe people will disagree, but I think Fox News is effectively done, at least in its current format. Okay, so this is the end of Fox News. The lawsuit is screwing them over enough. They're losing almost $1 billion. Compound that with the fact that there's going to be a mass boycott of the network, and you have a situation where I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that you're looking at a company headed towards actual bankruptcy, right? People might just think I'm saying, oh, it's over for Fox because people are not going to watch. No, I mean that in the sense that they might actually be a company that has to file for bankruptcy soon. So, there's that. And now in the fallout of that, I guess let's break that down. What does a world without Fox News, or at least without Fox News in its current format, actually look like? Well, I think there are ways in which that is good, and there are ways in which that is bad. A world without Fox News, or without a viable, large, profitable Fox News. Now, here's the thing. I think there's two parts to this. It's obviously good for you and I, right? Because the downfall of Fox is going to drive more conservative traffic into obviously alternative media, but especially into the internet, commentary, into internet shows like this. And that has been happening for a while, right? Cable news has been dying for a while. This internet thing has been growing for a while. It's clearly the future. And even, privately with some friends I have who have wanted to do the TV thing, I've been trying to tell them, listen, cable news, and I've been saying this privately for a long time, right? Cable news has about 10 years left, right? Get on the internet, get with us, get started here. This is the future. You don't want to be starting your career over there. And in many ways, there is already more money and certainly more influence to be had on the internet. And something like this only confirms that. Something like this is only going to accelerate what was already the inevitable decline of cable news. It's going to draw way more eyes into what we do. And obviously that is good for us. Obviously that is a good thing for us. This is a great day. It just, in a Machiavellian sense or whatever, right? This objectively is a good day for internet conservatism and the internet conservative media sphere. But at the same time, while it is good for us, it's good for you, it's good for me, I don't think it's good for society, right? Because yes, it is true, cable news is dying. It is inevitable. Eventually, cable news is just not going to exist one day. But for now, it is still around. And for now, there are still a lot of people that, no matter what happens, no matter how popular YouTube gets, whatever, they are going to watch cable news. And it's mostly older people, so let me just say it like this. It's true. There are people out there who will watch cable news until the day they die, right? People who grew up always around with the television and nothing more. I think they are going to sit around and watch cable news until the day that they pass away. And we do need to consider that, which is why I say, although on one hand it is good for kind of the internet sphere of conservatism, losing both Tucker Carlson and eventually Fox News itself on the airwaves means we are essentially losing the only conservative representation in mainstream cable news. And that's not a good thing. For all of our disagreements with the Fox Corporation, for all the different segments where I constantly criticize Fox News about this and that, and you do too, it's still, for all of its faults, and especially all of its faults in recent years, it still was the only somewhat right-wing thing on the mainstream airwaves, right? You don't want to lose that. You really can't lose that. It's not a good thing. And so as much as I get it, Fox is over, screw Fox News, down with Fox News, they're a bunch of neocons. I agree. And in a selfish sense, like I said, it's good for us. It's good for me, right? I genuinely do not celebrate or root for the downfall of Fox. I can't, because what's the alternative? On cable news, what's the alternative? Newsmax, right? I love Newsmax. I've been on Newsmax, but are they really ready as a network to fill the shoes of Fox yet, right? Do they have this sort of audience or mainstream recognition or even the budget that Fox has? No, they don't. They just don't, right? So who else would do it? One America News? I think their budget's even smaller than Newsmax, and they're not even on DirecTV anymore. So we don't really have an alternative, okay? And unlike here on the internet where, okay, Tucker Carlson, let me just start a YouTube channel. You can't just build up a new TV network overnight. It's not that easy. It's not as easy as it is here on the internet, right? And so what do we really do? It's not a good outcome. I don't think it's a good ending outcome because we've effectively lost any right-wing representation in a large degree on cable news if we lose Fox News. And while, like I said, in a decade or so, I don't think that will matter because us here on the internet are just going to rise in dominance and overpower them, it still does matter for right now. Like, TV still does matter today. And so I think it is actually a net negative for the political scene overall, even if it helps us internet people, even if it kind of accelerates the future, right? So that's the future of Fox News. Now, what is Tucker Carlson's future? I have no idea. But my guess is that he's going to go to the internet, like I've been saying. That'd be, I don't know. I don't have an insider source on Tucker. That just kind of would be my guess on that. And, you know, he could either start his own thing, Tucker TV, whatever, or maybe he could sign with one of these big networks like Blaze or Daily Wire, or, you know, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think anyone knows at the moment what's going to happen. But if I were to guess, I think Tucker is most likely coming here to the internet. And honestly, I think, again, not celebrating losing Fox News as like an entity for the reasons I just explained, but I do think that if he does it correctly here on the internet, he could become someone who is even bigger and more influential than he was before. And I know there's a lot of older people, like I said, who will not get this yet. I always try to explain it to them, but including my parents, right? I always try to tell my parents, you don't get it, mom and dad. The internet is actually more influential than TV nowadays, and actually like sort of break down all the reasons and kind of provide the proof even, but they just don't get it, right? But the internet genuinely, I think nowadays, is a more influential means of communication than TV, right? You look at how fast, especially this, you look at how fast things are able to blow up on the internet, right? Whether that in the conservative sphere, think of, say, Turning Point USA, right? That whole thing was entirely built by internet clips. That was all it took, right? Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens owning liberals in like 2018. It was just through that and that going viral over and over again that they're now two of the most influential people in the American right, and never once did they ever host a TV show, right? You look at Donald Trump himself on Twitter. Trump is very influential because of the internet. You look at Andrew Tate, the more recent example of this. In my opinion, while TV still does have some degree of credibility to it, the truth of the matter is that the internet is a more influential means of communication nowadays than cable news is. And so in my opinion, right? And by the way, even if more people, you might say, watch TV, which I actually don't think is true, you look at the view counts on some of these videos versus how much someone watches like one episode of a TV show, I don't think it's actually comparable. But, you know, the other thing on the internet is that because of the algorithm, you can watch stuff over again. And then, you know, so on the internet, a clip can float around for weeks, whereas TV, if you didn't see it live, oh, you're screwed, right? But anyways, that said, in my opinion, if Tucker Carlson does this right, he may have a higher ceiling of global influence from being on the internet as compared to if he ever had that on TV. And certainly, he's going to reach a whole new generation, which is my generation, the younger generations. And that is something that I think Tucker Carlson could be very powerful about because, you know, I think he actually is someone, even though he's older, I do think Tucker Carlson speaks very well to young people. I mean, you go to any like, I don't know, Turning Point conference he speaks at, he's always the most popular speaker, you know, and so that speaks for itself. But also, I think he relates very well to our generation. He speaks to the issues that actually affect us and sort of understands it, even though he's older. And so, like I said, I think he can be a very powerful force for Gen Z. And obviously, while he's just a good commentator in general and very important in politics, there is this sort of untapped sort of utility to Tucker that I don't think has been realized. But if Tucker does go to the internet, that absolutely can become realized because, don't get me wrong, almost every young conservative out there loves Tucker Carlson. But how often do you actually turn on the TV to watch his show on Fox? People my age, right? Me personally, as much as I love Tucker, I cannot remember the last time I sat down and watched Fox News live for any reason. But I do know that I would watch any podcast that he did on YouTube or Rumble. I would watch that immediately, right? And so, you know, I look at the way Tucker is on the Nelk podcast and all that stuff. And, you know, I genuinely think he just is someone who kind of gets us and can speak to us and can speak to my generation in ways that we understand and relate to, which is not something a lot of the commentators that are his age in the conservative space can really say. So like I said, I think him moving to this medium, moving to the internet, can be a seismic cultural force for the better in ways that maybe people don't immediately realize, right? So that's one option for the future of Tucker. Of course, the other option is he just says F it and runs for president, which... hey, you never know, right? You never know. He's totally free now. He's not preoccupied with anything, so it's a possibility, right? I know it's kind of a meme idea. For the record, I don't think it'll actually happen. I think Tucker is a newsman. I think that's where his brain and his heart is. He has very little aspiration for office, but, you know, he could do it, right? The timing is right now. He could do it. But anyways, folks, there is my instant reaction to the Tucker Carlson drama. Again, good for internet media like us, and Tucker may leave this whole thing more relevant, but overall, I don't think the death of Fox News is a good thing for our culture, all things considered. Now, in honor of the end of, not on honor, but you know what I mean, of the end of Tucker Carlson tonight, I do actually I collected 2 of my favorite Tucker Carlson segments ever, and for the sake of nostalgia, you know, we got My Way by Frank Sinatra playing in the background, Just Pretend. We're going to react to them in a second, but for now, let me go and check the Super Chats. Let's see if we got any Super Chats here. We got dollar for $5. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, man. Says, do you see Fox News in the future realizing that they are screwed and going out of their way to hire better commentators and somehow revive themselves? Thank you for the $5, dollar for dollar. I appreciate it very much. And I do think that is a possibility. Yeah, it is possible that like Fox realizes it's dying, but one could also say, well, shouldn't they have been realizing that for a while, right? Because I think post 2020, there's a lot of people out there who said they were boycotting, and clearly Fox is not learning. So like, I don't really know. It's an open question, because the other thing to keep in mind is that I think the people who are sort of more powerful and influential at Fox News now is not like Rupert Murdoch Sr. or whatever. It's his kids who are a bunch of liberals, and so his kids might see it excuse me. His kids might see it as like an ideological thing that they just want to kind of coerce and take over Fox News. And so that's a thing to consider. That's a concern to consider. So, you know, I don't actually know. I'm not actually sure. Let me see. Did we get? Let me check Streamlabs. We did not get any donations on Streamlabs. I'm just gonna make sure we didn't. I don't know if this thing's set up right. I hope it is. But okay, folks. Again, if you want to support this show, you got questions or comments on this entire situation that you want read and answered, feel free to send it in as a super chat. Thank you, dollar for the $5. I appreciate it. But you know, I also think that there's a chance Fox may be trying to pick up sort of disaffected viewers of, say, a CNN or an MSNBC, right? They might actually try to take the angle of, oh, we're going to be the centrist news network, which I don't know if that's going to work. But that seems to be where they've been trying to go. Because the other thing, dollar for dollar, you got to consider this as advertisers. That's another thing that holds a lot of, you know, conservative outlets kind of captive, right? And that's why, you know, you got to support your independent content creators like myself. No, just kidding. But see, the thing about Fox is that they are the only right-wing network that can have like mainstream advertisements, right? Because you go and look at other advertisements, it's these niche like right-wing companies, which is good and all. But Fox, in order to keep these big advertising deals with like normal mainstream corporations that I could never get, none of the things in this space could ever get, you know, they have to maintain some veneer of sensibility, quote unquote, aka just not being conservative, right? And so that's another thing to consider with Fox is that, yes, on one hand, they're going to lose viewership. But also, if they lose their big advertisers by actually being conservative, then what actually loses them more money? I don't know. Now, in the end, right, you would think that the deals have to, coordinate with viewership and all that, but it's just something to consider. I'm not sure exactly how that type of stuff works. Real Text and Politics for $2. Thank you very much. Says Trump 2024, Carlson 2028. So true. Real Text and Politics. So true. But like I said, in my opinion, I don't expect Tucker to ever run for office because me and Tucker share a similar brain, okay? We think on the same wavelength because I've heard him talk about this and he's the same as me, We're newsmen. That's what we like to do. We like to talk about the news. That's what we enjoy, doing and discussing and talking about. So, it's an interesting question, but there's just something about us who do this media thing. We just don't want to run for office, right? Because we enjoy what we do. I enjoy this way more than I ever enjoy being a politician. And there's like a different lifestyle and frankly a different skill set. Now, I will say Tucker is just so smart that he's one of the few people that I too look at. I'm like, this guy, we need this guy in office. But, I don't think he would ever do it. I don't think he would ever do it because for the same reason I don't think I would ever do it because we just don't feel like that's our place, right? Our place is to talk. We're speakers. But who knows? Who knows? I don't know where Tucker's mind is right now. So, I'm not exactly sure. Real Text and Politics says Tucker might be on Timcast tonight. Well, we will have to check that out. If that happens, I'm not exactly sure. But again, folks, if you want to support the show tonight, feel free to send it in via a super chat. You can donate here on YouTube or Streamlabs, which is the pin link. And we will do a Q&A session towards the end of the show where we can just talk and chat. So any questions or comments you guys want read and answered, feel free to send it in, support the show via a super chat. But all right. And if you're enjoying the show tonight, feel free to leave a like. Actually, be sure to leave a like. Let's get to 100 likes on the show, ladies and gentlemen. But okay. Well, let's continue here to the Don Lemon drama. All right. There we are. Okay. Well, in smaller but not insignificant news, Don Lemon was also terminated by CNN in basically the same exact hour. In fact, within minutes of Tucker Carlson being terminated. So the timing of that is strange. I don't know why that is. Some people are speculating that they're going to go and create a podcast together, which it would be kind of funny. Okay, just one time. That's what we need. One time. We need Joe Rogan to host Tucker and Don Lemon on in the same podcast. Can you imagine? That'd be like the greatest podcast in history, the biggest one in history, to say the least. But anyways, but Don Lemon officially terminated by CNN. Here is the statement on the screen. He says, my agent contacted me that I have been terminated by CNN. I am stunned. And then he goes on to say that, I've worked here 17 years. At no time was I ever given any indication that I would not be able to continue to do the work that I have loved at this network. It is clear that there are some larger issues at play. With that said, I want to thank my colleagues and the many teams who have worked with me before for an incredible run. They are the most talented journalists in the business, and I wish them the best. So kind of generic, corporate PR type of statement. But it is interesting that, they never told him. He's worked there 17 years, and he is the most iconic face at CNN, right? When I think of CNN, I think of Don Lemon, and it's been like that for several years. And they wouldn't even tell him, apparently. They just had his agent tell him, which, but that's the news. Don Lemon has been terminated by CNN, and he has been in trouble over there at CNN for a few weeks now, right? If you'll remember, he got in trouble because he basically said that Nikki Haley was past her prime. Remember that? He said Nikki Haley is past her prime because she's a woman in her 40s or whatever, and they said that was sexist, which, I'll be completely honest, okay? I understand, Nikki Haley's a Republican, so you're supposed to act offended, but, if I were to be totally real, of all the things that Don Lemon says, like, that's what he gets in trouble for, right? And by the way, I get that it's politically incorrect, but the reason that Don Lemon said that is because Nikki Haley said that Trump was past his prime. Like, are we forgetting this part of the whole Don Lemon scandal, right? So you can say, oh, that was so mean. But then how is it any different for Nikki Haley to say that Trump is past his prime? All that, and by the way, she's running on this whole platform of, I'm a girl boss, right? She got her arms crossed, with all due respect, right? That's like her whole demeanor here. And so if she's going to go out there and act like that and then say Donald Trump is past his prime, is it really even wrong for Don Lemon to respond and say, well, you're past your prime too? I understand that's like in left-wing world, that's totally unacceptable. I'm just saying my own personal take on that is like, I actually kind of was like, well, Don, you do have a point, but whatever, not going to get into that whole drama, because why should I hold him accountable by conservative standards? He's not a conservative. He should be. That is sexist by liberal world. So, I'll hold him to that standard. But regardless, he has been in scandal for saying that. Which, again, even if you think it's wrong, is it really that big of a deal? Is it a big whatever? But then, curiously, at the same time that happened, allegations of Don Lemon basically mistreating women in the workplace started to emerge. Which, isn't it weird how that happens, right? Don Lemon says something bad, and then here come the allegations. Bill O'Reilly, same thing with Fox News back in the day. Bill O'Reilly supports Trump, and then all of a sudden, Me Too, he's sexually inappropriate and all this stuff, Like, I'm not saying I know any of the details there, but it's just the timing of how this stuff always seems to happen in cable news is odd, to say the least. It's interesting, right? It's like, it seems like every single time they say something controversial, and then all of a sudden, well, it turns out, did you know he's been mistreating women in the workplace? Every single time. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying anything. I don't know how that all works. It just seems like a pattern in cable news that happens very regularly. But I don't know any of the details. But there is the news. Don Lemon is out at CNN. I don't think this will do nearly the damage to CNN as Fox losing Tucker. But it still is something. It still is going to damage CNN because he's one of their icons, and he's basically the only icon left, right? Because remember Chris Cuomo, right? Chris Cuomo's out. He was gone for the whole Andrew Cuomo scandal. And so that was one of their big, iconic primetime hosts. And so Don Lemon was really the only person iconic still left at CNN that like people care about on the left, somewhat to some degree. And so if he's gone now too, who does CNN have, right? Like, who are the iconic people left at CNN? Whereas you look at their liberal competitor, MSNBC, they still got all their main hosts, right? There's no scandal. Joy Reid, the guy with the glasses, all those people. MSNBC is still intact. CNN, now they've lost basically all of their biggest people. And so they will take a hit too, right? I don't think it will be as damaging as Tucker leaving Fox, but I do think for their audience, it is going to damage them to some degree. But so it'll be interesting to see what Don Lemon does from here. I do think we need a Joe Rogan experience with Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson, like I said. I mean, could you imagine the viewership? But yeah, there is Don Lemon. And I know we got a super chat here, so let me read that really quickly. Mr. Iceland for 750 ISK, Icelandic dollars, however you say that, isks. He sent 750 isks. Well, Bjork, thank you. Bjork, thank you, Mr. Iceland. It says, where is the best place to move in the U.S.? Well, if you're coming in from Iceland, then, if you could handle it, I guess I could say, there's like Montana, Idaho, people like it up there. But I'm just going to kind of give you the general advice of, if you're conservative, you want to live somewhere conservative, whatever. I'd probably just say pick somewhere in the South, right? If you want a city, do like Nashville area or Charlotte area or something like that, or one of the Texas cities or even one of the Florida cities. Don't do Atlanta. It sucks there. If you want to live like rural, Tennessee has a lot of land, but there's all the southern states you can buy some land. But I generally say, if you're narrowing it down totally from another country, from Iceland, so I would just say make sure the state, if this is what you're going for, pick like a Republican state. And, generally speaking, in general, you want to stay away from American cities because they are quite dangerous. So pick a suburb or pick like a rural area. Just live on a farm somewhere, But Mr. Rat does bring up a point. He says, why would you leave one of the most peaceful countries on earth? I mean, it's true. He does bring up a point. I'm sure it is much safer in Iceland than it is in America. You guys don't have... I don't know if you guys even have cities, but you guys certainly don't have cities that are in a state of collapse, okay? So, I would really say this. Before you consider whether or not you want to move to the States, maybe test it out, right? Maybe come over here and see if you actually like it. Because you might show up, you'll go to New York or whatever and be like, Bajork is this? Why would I ever want to live here? So, just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, too. Real Text and Politics for $5 says, my gut feeling is that Tulsi replaces Tucker. How would you feel about that? I didn't even think about that. I figured it was going to be Jesse Waters. That was kind of my thought on that. But Tulsi Gabbard replacing Tucker Carlson, that is an idea. It's an idea for sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I would... I think it would be the best thing for them to do, right? I think that would save face the best because for some reason the Republican base really loves Tulsi Gabbard, which I don't particularly hate her or have anything against her, but they're very obsessed. Anything Tulsi Gabbard does, they want to see it. Oh, Tulsi, I want to see Tulsi. So I think it would be a good idea on their part, right? Because it replaces the sort of populist aspect, anti-establishment one with another one who's perceived as that, and it's one of the few people that Fox could put in that situation now where a significant portion of the viewers would be like, wow, I like that. Wow, that is a good thing, right? And so I didn't even think about that. Real Text and Politics, I don't know if that's if they're thinking about that, but if I were Fox, that's probably what I would do from a business perspective. My guess is still it's going to be Jesse Waters because he needs he's kind of up next there at the network. But that is an idea, in my opinion. That's quite an interesting idea. So if I were Fox, it's probably what I would do. Because people would stop talking. She is also one of the people that people talk about a lot, right? Everyone has an opinion on her. You know what I mean? And so if they replace Tucker with Tulsi, from Fox's perspective, they could probably, in a sense, get away with all this, if that makes sense, right? Because, people would be thinking, oh, we hate Fox. Screw Tucker Carlson. Screw them for firing Tucker Carlson. And then all of a sudden, boom, Tulsi. That's going to be so divisive to some people that all of a sudden they're only going to be thinking about Tulsi and not about the fact that Fox just let go of Tucker. So if I were them, that's probably what I would do. But it's an interesting idea. But again, guys, as usual, if you want to support the early show tonight, feel free to send it in via a super chat. I will be checking super chats periodically throughout the night here, and it is a great way to keep the lights on here in the studio and support the show. And by the way, if someone can do me a favor and send in a test dono to the Streamlabs link, because I don't know if it's working. I tried earlier sending one to myself. I did a test dono, $1 to myself, and it wouldn't work, which is very strange. So if someone can test that out for me, it'd be greatly appreciated to make sure it actually works. But okay, well, on here to our memorialization of the Tucker Carlson Tonight show. Now that Tucker Carlson Tonight is no more, I figure that we ought to react, firstly, for old time's sake, It would get copyrighted, but like I said, pretend that My Way by Frank Sinatra is playing in the background here, okay? I figured we should react to what is still to this day my favorite Tucker Carlson clip ever, okay?
Well, the president is threatening to close the U.S.-Mexico border and cut aid to various...
Pause. Okay. I need to tell the backstory on this segment. Okay. So the reason why this Tucker segment... Let me actually put over to a thumbnail that you guys might recognize. Okay. So the reason why this Tucker Carlson segment will always have a special place in my heart is because, fun fact, this actually is the news segment that basically got me into doing the politics thing in media. Okay? So people always ask me, what inspired you back in the day to start doing content and political content? So I was watching Tucker Carlson for a few weeks. I was 15 years old. This was, what, 5 years ago or so, right? I was 15 years old, something like that, back in high school. And I was watching a lot of Tucker Carlson clips on YouTube. And I saw this one single clip here. And like I said, in my opinion, this is still the greatest Tucker clip that has ever existed. And I remember watching this and was simply like, wow, this looks so fun, right? I was like, this looks fun. I want to do this. And I'm not joking. It was this segment right here that made me think I want to go into this media thing. I want to do what Tucker does. Okay, I was like in high school, 15. And, you know, you might think, oh, well, Vince, this is what inspired you. It wasn't like some motivational speech. It was just the fact that you watch Tucker Carlson debate an idiot. Well, I suppose so, okay? I suppose. I watched this back in the day, and like I said, 2018, this was when the migrant caravan, remember that? The migrant caravan before the election was coming up to the border, and I saw this and was like, I want to do this. I want to be this guy. I want to be this guy right here. So we got to play this. So since Tucker Carlson tonight will no longer be a thing on Fox, we need to play this for the memories. We absolutely do. Okay.
Well, the president has threatened to close the U.S.-Mexico border and cut aid to various Central American countries in response to the massive caravan of migrants making its way slowly up from Mexico. Secretary of Defense General Jim Mattis has also ordered hundreds of U.S. troops, about 800, to the U.S.-Mexico border in anticipation of their arrival. Roberto Hernandez is an immigration advocate who lives in San Francisco. He says he's happy the migrants are coming. He joins us tonight. Roberto, thanks very much for coming on. I don't expect to...
His hat, dude. I still laugh to this day. He comes on and this like straw hat. This is so ridiculous. I'm telling you, this is one of the funniest Tucker segments ever.
To change your views on immigration. We've talked many times. I know what they are. But I applaud you for being more honest than most on the left in saying out loud what you really want. So I want to use you to inform our viewers about the aims of the left. Tell me what the justification for this group coming here is. If they wanted asylum, they could have applied in the embassy in Tegucigalpa. They're instead coming to our border. Are they claiming that they're refugees, fleeing a war? If so, what war? What is the justification for this?
Good evening. First of all, let's go to our history. You know, here in the Americas...
No, let's not. Let's just go to the question.
The world.
Okay.
Look at all the Europeans that came here. This was Native American land, and Europeans came here.
Okay. You've demonstrated an ignorance of...
It's just so ridiculous, okay? I love this guy. Now, do you guys remember when he used to do this? He doesn't do this anymore. He didn't, in the recent years. I don't know whatever happened to this. I love these segments, when he used to bring on some, like, crazy liberal... Like, he had this person, remember Kathy? Remember that girl? I miss this stuff. I miss it. This was so ridiculous.
This was Native American land, and Europeans came here.
Okay. You've demonstrated an ignorance of history sufficient that I don't want you trying to educate us. And then I just want you to answer my question about right now, if that's okay. If we just stick to the question, what is the justification, the legal justification, for these people coming to our border and not the U.S. Embassy in Tegucigalpa?
Well, if you look at the role of the United States in Central America, in Nicaragua, in Honduras, in Guatemala, and other countries in Latin America, the United States has promoted wars to protect corporate interests in a lot of these countries. And so you have a lot of people who have been affected by these wars. And
this is when the Tucker face was born, by the way, the iconic Tucker face.
It's caused poverty in a lot of these countries. And currently there is a political climate in a lot of these countries, and people are coming here looking for refugee. And
so let's hold on. No, okay, I'm going to try and take you seriously.
The United Nations is supporting. Okay. Did you know that? But the United Nations is out there right
nothing
now.
The United Nations does matters to me or surprises me. But let me hold on. Let me just ask you.
Through the caravan.
I'm trying to take you seriously. You said most of them in the first caravan are coming from Honduras. What war specifically are you talking about that the United States promoted? Whose interests were benefiting from that war? And when did that war end? What are you talking about specifically?
specifically look at the role of the U.S. government in Honduras. I mean, we can go here all day, all
what
night.
war
but
are
we don't
you
have that
talking
much
about?
time. So I want to
Well,
make
just
sure
give me the
that
war. Tell me when it ended.
Understand that
I'm trying.
Okay, let me ask you this: do you know of any involvement of the U.S. in Honduras?
So what you're saying is you don't really know what you're. Hold on. What you're saying is you don't really know what you're talking about, but you're throwing out a talking point.
Then we need to have a show just to talk about the U.S. government's involvement in Central America and the rest of Latin America.
I'm asking you specifically, what war in Honduras are you talking about that the United States inspired that justifies this migrant caravan? What war? When did that war end? What year? What are you talking about? Or do you not know?
What I do. Okay, let's look at the role of the military of the U.S. currently in Honduras.
No, but you said there was a war. So you're totally ignorant of the history of Honduras, but you are lecturing us about our responsibility to let these people in because of a war that we started, but you can't tell us what war or what year it ended. I think that's what you're saying.
And not only that, but it's...
I can't believe Fox News is getting rid of this. Like, what are they going to do without this? Okay? This, in my opinion, it's very underrated too. Nobody ever talks about this. Everyone remembers the creepy porn lawyer interview, which I actually have queued up here. That one is pretty funny. Everyone talks about BLM, his big monologue that night, and that was a fantastic monologue and, one of the best in the history of news, in my opinion. But this right here, this was actually, in my opinion, one of the best segments that Tucker ever did. So it's so true. Sorry, my boy is sick here. I'm still sick, dude. It sucks. So I went to DC this weekend and got no sleep, so we are still sick. But anyways, Tucker Carlson tonight. It will truly be missed. Let's finish here.
The involvement of the U.S. in Honduras.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Not only that, but his hat, dude. You can't even take him seriously. Look at his hat. He goes up.
Us and Central America. We've talked about this
so
before.
Obviously history is not your subject. Let's go to...
Also, it's such a ridiculous talking point, too. It's like, the entire reason, don't you know, guys, and this actually reflects something that they say a lot about Latin America, the left, and they can never really specify exactly what it is. They say, the entire reason that Latin America is poor today is because of U.S. military intervention. And it's like, okay, so I guess there's a few countries you could say, well, the right of the United States, Reagan, whoever, propped up a coup in this country or that country or whatever it is, right? But how does that equate to, the reason why like half of a continent is in poverty is all the United States' fault? Because first of all, if you look at how these countries were doing before the U.S. intervention or whatever, they were not exactly paradises. They were not exactly like first world flourishing countries until the U.S. stepped in and did something. Very often the reason that the U.S. stepped in and backed coups for whatever interest is because those countries were so unstable to begin with that they were constantly in a state of civil strife and revolution or whatever it is. And it's just that the U.S., for its own interests or whatever, at certain points said, okay, well, we're going to step in and back one side of the coup or the war. But to pretend, it would have never happened if the U.S. just never got involved, that's ridiculous. And in countries where the U.S. was totally uninvolved, I mean, what has the U.S. ever done in Haiti? What about that, right? What have we ever done there? Because that country has been in poverty since its inception. There's not that the U.S. ever forced on Haiti or anything, okay? And many of these other countries, too. It's like the idea, these countries are poor only because of U.S. intervention, really? That's just in denial of hundreds of years of history where they've all basically been in more or less the same state that they are now. There's really not one country in the Latin American sphere besides arguably Cuba, right? Cuba might be the one place I might make that argument where, through most of their history, they were fantastic. Everything was going so nice. And then all of a sudden, because of U.S. intervention or for whatever reason, all of a sudden now it sucks and it's violent and all that stuff, right? Like, there's really no examples of that. Besides, like I said, maybe Cuba. You could argue that Cuba, all things considered, was doing much, much better before Castro, right? Which has nothing to do with the U.S., but still. But besides that, I really can't think of an example in Latin America where you could say, so-and-so country down there now is a third world hellscape and constantly in just violence. But before, maybe it was more peaceful, don't get me wrong. I mean, I understand MS-13 and all that stuff is new. But before, it was just prospering so much, and only now it has problems, right? There's not a single country I can think of actually on that front. Dollar for $2 says, America is a banana republic and the crop is soy. Thank you for the $2, dollar for dollar. I appreciate it. It is so true. And yeah, 100%. Our crop is indeed soy. Again, if you want to support the show tonight, guys, feel free to send in a super chat either here or on the pinned link on Streamlabs.
Something,
and that's fine with me.
I'm not sure we're disagreeing.
I think I don't really know what you're talking about. Currently is supporting this caravan. Why would the United Nations be supporting and helping these people? And
not
then
account.
Trump
I
goes
can't imagine why the UN does a lot of things.
That the U.S. should stop Mexico from letting these people come here.
Spain colonized South America. Nobody says anything about that. Aaron M says, what is true? And yeah, nobody goes around and blames Spain. And you go in these Hispanic countries, does anyone say, Spain is the reason why we are poor? No. In fact, many of them prefer to identify with the Spanish kind of blood of theirs. Imagine if Americans did the same thing. That'd be interesting. Regardless. But, the thing is, what was South America before Spanish colonization? Nothing. It was tribal warfare and, in a very limited sense, a shell of civilization. What was Mexico before Spanish settlement? Mass human sacrifice? Right? We know the history of the Aztecs, all this stuff. But it is interesting because if they always talk about white English colonization, they never talk about white Spanish colonization, right? Even nowadays, nobody wants to say, oh, the reason why Latin America is poor is because of Spain. It still, in some way, has to be blamed on the United States. You see that? You see how that works, right? Because if you want to point to whatever, we don't like the way current Latin American society is, that has way more to do with what the Spaniards left behind than the United States, right? Now, I would argue that what the Spaniards left behind is an upgrade from what it was before, and so I'm not trying to personally use that kind of gotcha-style line on the Spanish Empire because, all things considered, the civilization they left behind is better. I'm not saying it's not, but still, if you're going to blame the poverty in Latin America on anything today, how is it the United States' fault? Shouldn't it be blamed on Spain? It never is, though. It never is.
We're going to change the category to the 200 category. Let's see if you can answer this.
All right, to the 200 category.
San Francisco has now announced that illegal aliens, people who have no right to be here, will be allowed to vote in local school board elections. You live in the city. You think this is a great idea. Do you think Americans who sneak into other people's countries ought to be allowed to vote in their elections?
Well, let's look at how many white people live in Mexico. The Mexican government doesn't harass them. But let's look at...
Are they allowed to vote in elections?
Look how many people did not vote in this last election. Look at the numbers.
Okay. I would say as a performance artist, you're talented, but I just want to get at one straight answer. Are Americans who sneak into other people's countries without permission allowed, do they have a right to vote in those countries' elections? Do I have a right to sneak into Mexico and announce that I get to vote there? And if you don't let me...
So ridiculous. You brought the paper? You got the paper ready? It's too good. This entire segment, it's the greatest... I'm telling you guys, it's the greatest Tucker Carlson segment that he's ever done. Okay?
You're a racist. Is that a human right that I possess?
So let's get it clear. In San Francisco, these individuals that are being allowed to vote are only voting for the election for the members of the Board of Education.
Another question unanswered.
And
all right.
these people right, should have the right to vote specifically for those who are going to make policies and decisions affecting their children.
Okay, so I asked you a couple simple questions. You couldn't come up with an answer. Text me later if those answers come to you. Okay, Roberto, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Common yet underrated Tucker Carlson W. That is one of my favorite Tucker segments that he's ever done. We love to see it. We love to see it. All right, I got one more for you, and then we'll just do Super Chats and Q&A for the rest of the episode. Like, it's an emergency stream, so we'll go a little bit longer than usual. But just we don't even have to watch the whole thing, but just to memorialize Tucker Carlson tonight, there is one more thing we must watch. There's one more thing we must watch, and it is true. We can't vote in other countries. It's a stupid comparison. It's a really stupid comparison. But here you go.
You may recognize this man. He's a lawyer. He represents the...
We had to do it. I'm sorry. We had to do it. What? How could we not? How could we not?
Porn actress Stormy Daniels.
You know what's funny? I feel like, now that I think of it, like, I always see myself as the baby in the conservative movement because I'm only 20. I just turned 20, and so I'm always like, I'm the youngest one, right? So I never had growing up to ever think about this. But I realize this now. There might be some people in the chat who never saw this, right? Because this was 2018, 2019-ish. You know, the creepy porn lawyer, Stormy Daniels. I don't realize this until now, but there are some kids who are younger than me now watching the show and stuff like that, right? There's some people out there who, like, actually, they've never seen this. They don't know about this stuff. Like, they came into politics after this. Like, I came into politics 2018, and I always see myself as being like the young one, the baby and all, but that's not the case anymore. Your boy's getting old. I'm 20. By the time I turn 21, I might as well just start collecting Social Security. I mean, seriously. But yeah. So this was it's for people who totally forgot, were never around. Stormy Daniels' lawyer was. He was nicknamed by Tucker Carlson as the creepy porn lawyer, and he was going around doing a huge media tour in Democratic left-wing media about all this stuff, and he was, attacking Trump and calling Trump a Russian asset and all that stuff. And actually, people forget this. You guys remember this? This guy was trying to run for president. Remember? He was doing the whole tour. He was visiting Iowa. He was going to run for president. There are all these people on cable news saying he should run for president. And then I believe he got indicted for financial fraud or whatever. Actually, I wonder, whatever happened? Is he in jail now? Let me see. Well, whatever happened to Michael Avenatti? Let's see. Is he... Oh, he's incarcerated right now. Okay, so he's currently in jail. So yeah, he did get convicted of, what was it, fraud or whatever, I believe. I don't even remember now. He has 14 years in federal prison. He stole millions of dollars from clients and committed tax fraud. So that was the guy. But, back in 2019, MSNBC and everything was saying this guy should run for president. So here you go. Here's the creepy porn lawyer.
Lawsuits against the president and Michael Cohen. But in the last 6 months, he has become famous in his own right. He's now one of the most consistent figures.
It's crazy. Yeah, some people in the chat are saying. So there's some people who have never seen this. They don't know this whole story. They don't remember Michael Avenatti. Wow. I can't. How do you guys not know the creepy porn lawyer? I am now a senior citizen. It's crazy. Dollar for $2. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Says, play me on chess.com. My name is Krispy Kreme Kolaches. Okay, let me write that down. I will actually play you later. Okay, Krispy Kreme. Thank you for the $2.
He's appeared on CNN and MSNBC literally hundreds of times, but he's moving beyond being a mere television celebrity. He's now talking about running for office for president. He's released his positions on major issues. He's traveled to Iowa and New Hampshire and Michigan and Ohio. He seems serious about it. We've invited him on the show many times to talk about his plans, but he's always declined until tonight. He's now agreed to appear on our set, provided we give him time to state his case, and we're, of course, happy to do that. In the past, he's also demanded that we stop referring to him by a certain unflattering nickname.
That nickname is creepy porn lawyer. Okay, that was what Tucker called it, was creepy porn lawyer. Which he was attacked for back in the day. But again, Michael Avenatti is now in prison for stealing money from clients. So here's the creepy porn lawyer.
We haven't agreed to that demand, but tonight, as a gesture of goodwill, we will not use that nickname because we're always grateful when guests are brave enough to show up in person, including in this case. And he joins us now. Thanks a lot for coming on. So, I mean, we could sit and hurl insults at each other for the segment. Already done that. I've certainly insulted you. You've insulted me. But you seem smart. So let me take you seriously as someone who wants to be involved in the public conversation and ask you about things that you have said on questions of policy to flesh them out a little bit. So this is you at a rally in July. I think it was the day after the president spoke with Vladimir Putin in Helsinki. And you were addressing a rally. And here's what you said. Watch.
What Vladimir Putin and Russia did to this country in connection with the 2016 election is no different than if they had placed 100,000 troops on our border.
Do you guys, it's a trip to see now. Remember when, election denying was not a deplatformable offense. It was not against TOS of YouTube. Remember that? Not that I would ever do it, of course, but remember when that was a thing? Like it was, and it's interesting now to go back and watch because we always say this. Oh well, the Democrats say blank, but they actually did. Like you go back and watch any news segment from this era. They were all saying this. So here's again Michael Avenatti saying that what Russia did in the 2016 election, which by the way never happened. Like what are you talking to this day? They've never figured out what exactly Russia did besides buy a few Facebook ads that were shown to make no difference in the election. But this is what they went around saying, and they made claims such as what Russia did was tantamount to an invasion of the United States. There's Michael Avenatti saying that Russia's involvement, quote unquote, in the 2016 election, which of course is election denial, cardinal grave offense. But he said it is equivalent to Russia placing troops on our border. So.
Yeah. This was an invasion. It was an electronic invasion. It used hackers and tweeters to elect this president.
So if Russia had 100,000 troops on our border, I mean, that would be an act of war, a profound provocation. What would be the rational response to that if you really felt the threat was that profound? If you were president, how would you respond to that?
Well, Tucker, I understood that I was coming on your show tonight to talk about the case involving my client.
Well, I didn't tell you that, and I'm happy to talk about the case. But I just played you a clip.
Tucker, you got to stop. Tucker, you got to stop interrupting me, okay? Because one of the conditions of me coming on tonight was that you were not going to do what
they got in for like 2 seconds. Tucker, you got to stop interrupting me. Tucker.
You do routinely to guests, which is talk over them and interrupt them. So just let me finish with my answer, okay? Let me finish with my answer.
I said I give you.
It's very odd, like he's coming in combative already, but we just started. He just started. He's already.
A fair interview. I actually don't have an interest in squabbling with you at all or name calling. I've done a lot of that to you, and you've done
but not
to me.
No, but not to my face.
I could, but what's the point? I want to take you seriously. I'm serious.
Okay.
So I just played a clip of what you said at a rally. You're traveling to states because you want to influence policy direction. Correct. I don't think it's unfair to ask you about something that you said.
What's the question?
And the question, let me restate it, is you said that Russia has done something that is equivalent to putting 100,000 troops on our border. That's an act of war.
Correct.
And I wonder two things. One, what you would do as president if that happened under your watch. And two, what do you think Russia thinks watching public figures like you say that we're at war with Russia? What effect do you think that has?
Well, first of all, there's no question that Russia interfered with the 2016 election in a very serious way. The only question is, what was the involvement in Donald Trump or by Donald Trump and his cronies in the process?
By the way, again, in retrospect now, that what did they do? They bought Facebook ads. Like this whole narrative that they did anything significant has just never been proven. But if you'll remember back then, they were running with this as fact.
Process.
But apparently Dominion. What Tucker Carlson said about Dominion, that should cost Fox News $700 million and get them released from the network. So if I were Vladimir Putin, I might look into some, just sue all these people for defamation. Okay, apparently, you can get $1 billion off of claiming stolen election, whatever. So, Putin should just sue. He should just sue CNN and sue the whole Democratic Party. That's exactly what he should do. And we'll break even. We'll break even, okay? We'll break even that way.
That's what Bob Mueller's in the process of getting to the bottom of.
But how should we as a country respond?
There you go, interrupted me again. Okay. So how should we respond?
Yes, I asked you 3 times.
We should respond with the absolute force of the law. We should be doing everything in our power to bring those individuals to justice, those individuals that are also in Russia. And let me tell you what we should not be doing. We should not be standing shoulder to shoulder with Vladimir Putin and choosing Russia over the hardworking men and women of the intelligence community that risk their lives for this country.
So as I brought up earlier, right? Like I said, I know this is such an old thing that we're memorializing that so much of our younger audience, younger than me, doesn't remember. But the whole Russia, Ukraine, the Ukraine part is a new one. But the whole Russia, you guys work for Russia. My name's Cenk Uygur, and Trump is Russia. Vince Dow doing a show. It must be Russia. That whole thing is older than the Ukraine war. Okay, it's we've been dealing with this for several years, and obviously you guys in chat, the ones my age and older all remember this, but it's I'm having to remember now. We have like 16, 17-year-old viewers of the show and stuff, so this has been a thing for a while, right? And I actually made this argument on another show recently, which is that I think in many ways the reason why this whole Russia collusion narrative was manufactured against Trump is because if you remember back in 2016, Donald Trump was actually campaigning on restoring American relations with Russia, right? Which sounds crazy now. Obviously, that would never be a thing now. But if you remember this, in 2016 and 2015, when he was running, Trump was actually the guy coming along and saying, well, why don't we get along with Russia? Do you remember this? He was actually suggesting things like maybe America should try to get along with Putin. I mean, why does Russia have to be seen as an adversary? He was asking all of these questions, which in retrospect would have been a very good thing to do because, obviously, we know the situation with China, and pulling away Russia during the Trump years and forming some type of alliance would have seriously curbed the influence of China. Obviously, now the opposite is happening. China is bringing Russia into the fold. But if you remember, for a long time, as much as people want to say, oh, well, they're both commies, they're Russia's commies, so of course they were going to ally with China. That's actually not true. Russia and China historically have not actually had that good of a relationship, right? Even back when both were communists, right? And they actually did not have that good of a relationship. And Russia was sort of in the middle for a while because Putin did leave a door open for some type of restoration with the West. And, Trump actually, when he was running, seemed like an opportunity to do that. But then what happened? Right when Trump won, what did they say? They made up this entire, again, the big lie of Russian collusion, right? They said that the 2016 election was stolen by the Russian government. And so they went after Trump is a Russian spy, all this stuff. And that whole drama in the United States, right, made it impossible for the U.S., for the Trump administration to actually work with Putin, right? Because he had to say, oh, no, I'm tough on Russia, right? The politics made it too difficult. And so in my opinion, I think that this whole Russia collusion thing, besides taking down Trump, besides discrediting Trump and what happened in 2016, all of that, I think the other angle and the reason they chose Russia as a country is because many people within the deep state, right? The national security state, our foreign policy agencies, all that stuff. I think that there were a lot of people in there that for some reason or another had a vested interest. They did not want to see a Russo-American alliance, right? They did not want to see ties between Putin and the West mended again. And you sort of see those same exact people now that totally Putin this, Putin that, right? And so I think part of their thinking there was they saw, hey, Trump is being too friendly to Russia and Putin on this campaign trail. We can't let this happen, because if this alliance happens like we're suggesting, I don't know, that actually might be good for the United States or something. It might actually be good foreign policy. And we can't have good foreign policy. We need to be at war with the entire world. And so, in retrospect, I think that's where this all started and why this all happened, right? And obviously, this whole Ukraine, hey, if you don't support $2,000 billion to Ukraine every second, you're an agent of Russia. This stuff has been going on for years, and it's a reskinned, presentation of the same exact thing. But Real Texan Politics for $5, thank you very much, says, it is no secret that the Democrats want to do to Russia what George W. Bush did to Iraq. It is very true, although I don't think they realize what they're in for, because Putin, believe it or not, Putin is a moderate, right? He's a moderate in Russia. They're actually, the people kind of lined up to take his place are more radical and then more authoritarian, whatever. So it is something to consider. But again, if you want to support the show tonight, feel free to send it in via a super chat, either here on YouTube or the pinned link in the live chat to my Streamlabs, which is integratable with PayPal and all that stuff. Appreciate the support. God bless you guys.
The president has sold out the United States.
So the administration announced today a new round of even tougher sanctions against Russia. Do you support that?
Yeah, exactly, Lizel, exactly. China and the Soviets have been enemies since the 70s, exactly. They had border disputes and all that. So these are not powers that got along. I don't think people realize this. They want to, and there's such a stubborn, shallow way of thinking. Oh, of course Putin and Xi are working together. That was inevitable. They're both communists, shaking your fist. That's not actually reality, okay? Russia and China historically have not gotten along well with each other. Even when Russia was still communist and China under, Mao and whatnot, they had territorial disputes. They almost went to war with each other. They've never maintained a good relationship. They've been kind of adversarial towards each other for several decades, okay? So to sit here and say, no, they were always going to work together, that's not true. It's happening because the West has driven Russia into a corner and right into China's corner, okay? Whereas what we should have been trying to do during this war, but especially before this war, is we should have been trying to pull Russia away into our sphere of influence, and that way we would leave China isolated. Okay, now if you leave China isolated and Russia's on our side, think of what that does. Would we have the China of the 2020s, Would we be having this whole conversation about China at the moment? No. But it's like, it's such a shallow way of thinking, oh, they're together because they're both communist. No, you don't know what you're talking about. It's ignorant of history. China and Russia are not natural allies. They actually historically have never gotten along, okay? And they now do get along because of what? Reckless US foreign policy by the Uni Party.
I think it's a start, but I don't think it's
what would be the end?
I don't think it's a step in the right direction. I don't think the president has shown any leadership relating
sanctions
to Vladimir,
are not a step in the right direction.
No, I said it's a step, but it's not enough. Okay.
It's not enough. But what is enough? We know the answer now. 2,000 billion trillion to Ukraine.
Believe that President Trump should demand the extradition of each and every individual in Russia that Bob Mueller and others believe were responsible for the election meddling in 2016.
Okay, so I think a number of people have been charged. Okay, that's a start.
I think that's a start.
But if you really believe that it's the same as 100,000, what I'm saying is you're using reckless rhetoric on a subject you don't really understand that increases the temperature between the United States and a nuclear-armed adversary. Is that a responsible thing to do?
I think under the circumstances, I stand by my words, and I think for you to
lecture... That it's 100,000 troops on the border?
I think for you to lecture me about reckless rhetoric is rather ironic, Tucker, in light of some of the reckless rhetoric that you engage in each and every day on this show.
Reckless rhetoric, okay. So you've said that you are a civil libertarian, in effect. You're a libertarian on sex questions, and that's fine with me. Does it bother you that the Obama administration authorized spying on American citizens connected to a rival presidential campaign?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's been established that that occurred, number one.
That Carter Page was spied on?
They still deny that to this day. It did occur.
I don't believe that that's been established, number one, that in fact President Obama authorized
his administration authorized.
Are you going to interrupt me for the entire segment?
I'm
or just
clarifying because I don't think you understand the question.
No, I
do. The Obama administration authorized spying on an American citizen connected to the Trump campaign. Does that bother you at all?
First of all, I don't think that's been established. If it was established, of course it would bother me. Are we going to get to the facts of my client's case?
Yeah,
are we
let me ask you one last real adult question first,
okay,
because you're traveling around the country as a commentator on politics, and I'm interested to know what you think. I don't think that's illegitimate. So it has not been established that Carter Page was spied on? Is that what you're saying?
How many times are you going to ask me the same question? I've already stated that in my view, I don't believe that President Obama has been shown to have authorized the spying, quote unquote.
The Obama administration. Why dodge the question?
Can you believe that at one point the Democrats wanted this guy to run for president? I mean, obviously. And they prop this guy up as like the darling, like the, this guy is gonna destroy Trump. This is Trump's worst nightmare. I mean, look at the guy. I mean, let's do this for a second, Chad. Okay, so the guy was convicted on felony counts of what? It was like tax fraud and stealing billions of dollars. White collar crimes, really bad white collar crimes too. He's now, I think they said 14 years in prison from what I'm reading now. So, is anyone surprised? I mean, look at the guy. Look at the guy. Oh, wow, this guy was a sleazebag? Whoever would have known? This... But, and then just look at the way he acts. Like, this guy is charismatic. He seems like a complete scumbag. He carries himself like, but no, this guy, this guy is, he's our hero. He's going to run for president. I can't believe this ever happened.
Look, you traveled here with policy advisors who've worked on other campaigns to the show.
Very Weasley. Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at this guy. They should have made this guy the nominee, okay? They were going to try, and then what happened? He went to jail. It was a 5D chess move by the Uniparty, because if he ran for president, Trump would have destroyed him.
I have no idea.
I think you'd be ready for a simple question.
I didn't travel here with policy advisors.
Michael says this dude looks like the type of guy to represent his specific clientele. Yeah, so true. So this is, can you imagine a lawyer that represents a porn star? Look at him, so true. Real Text and Politics for $2 says Matan suit. Real.
Can I ask you? Let me ask you a question.
No, I don't think. Why don't you get a TV show and then you can ask me a question? I've asked you a simple question.
Why is it that you don't
answering?
Why is it that you don't call Donald Trump the creepy porn president? He's the one that had sex with a 4-month-old son at home with my client without a condom.
Okay, so
but you don't want to acknowledge that.
Hold on.
You don't want to acknowledge
that.
Acknowledge it.
Okay.
Do you believe that he had sex with my client?
Yes, I do. I've said that on the air multiple times.
So he's lied repeatedly to the American people, and you're okay with that. You think it's okay if the president lies to the American people?
Settle down. Let me finish my question to you. What is the crime, the harm, the injury to your client by Donald Trump? As far as I understand, this was a consensual sexual relationship, and yes, I believe it occurred.
Hey, it's relevant now. Now that we're once again, this is what Trump is being indicted for in Manhattan. It is once again the question: what is the crime by Donald Trump?
I don't know that, but it seems like it did. I'm willing to believe.
Yeah, you're right, Michael. Maybe once Michael Avenatti is let out of jail, he will finally tell us. He will finally tell us
that it did. But it seemed consensual, and then she was paid at the end of it. And yet you... And by the way, I'm not attacking Stormy Daniels. I feel sorry for her. I feel she's being exploited.
You've attacked her for 6 months.
I feel that you and others are exploiting her. So I feel bad for her. But I'm wondering what the injury is to her.
I think you demean her repeatedly. And
really?
I think you're a hypocrite.
So let me ask you what the injury... You want to talk about the case. I'm asking you the core question in the case. What is the injury to Stormy Daniels?
The injury is that the agreement that was entered into was not adhered to by Michael Cohen and Donald Trump. They did not fulfill their end of the bargain. Now, do you want to talk about the injury to the American people?
which has now been proven not to be true, considering it was Stormy in the end who had to pay damages to Donald. But you know.
It is lying. So you believe no, but you just went off on this moral lecture about how it was wrong for the president to have an adulterous affair, and I would agree with that. But you're very outraged. So yes, you said it's an injury against the American people that he had sex with someone, not his wife, when his wife was pregnant.
You didn't let me finish. The injury is that he and Michael Cohen and others lied to the American people and covered up the $130,000 payment and violated campaign finance law. That's why Michael Cohen, I'm not done. No, that's why Michael Cohen just pled guilty.
Let me ask you a question.
That's why Michael Cohen just pled guilty.
I understand them. I've been following the news as well.
Okay.
Did Donald Trump have a moral obligation to tell the American people that he had a sexual relationship with Stormy Daniels?
I don't care whether he had a moral obligation or not. What he had an obligation. No, what he had an obligation to do was not cover it up and lie about it and commit campaign finance violations as his right hand. Michael Cohen just pled guilty to the felony. Tucker, what are you talking about?
To campaign finance violations?
Yes, associated with Miss McDougal. And I thought you were following the news.
So let me
ask you.
Let me ask you. I'm a little confused. So you're the protector of Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels is right now working in.
Now here's when it gets funny.
Strip clubs in little towns on stage, people are throwing things at her. You're wearing a $1,000 suit. Why are you not paying her? You've profited from Stormy Daniels. You've done tens of millions of dollars worth of free media on the basis of your relationship with her, and she's working in strip clubs. You're exploiting her, and you know that. Why aren't you paying her some of what you're making?
Sir, this is absurd.
It's not absurd. Those are the facts.
No, you don't know the facts, as evidenced by the fact that
Is she working in strip clubs?
Are you going to continue to interrupt me, or are you going to let me finish?
I do know the facts, actually.
No, you don't, because you just demonstrated your ignorance, because you didn't even know Michael Cohen pled to 2 felonies.
All right, you guys get the point, but I can't believe that guy was ever a scumbag. All right, folks. Well, with that said, we've been going for a live an hour 20. Okay, we'll do about 20 to 30 minutes here of Q&A and super chats and the bonus part. A little bit longer stream tonight. We can't go forever because I don't know if my voice is gonna make it. Okay, do you guys hear it? It sounds disgusting. I've been hating it too because. At least I probably don't sound super congested right now, but when I speak congested, I just sound like a nerd. I'm like, hey guys, welcome to the Vince Show. Like I sound like a nerd, and it sucks. Because the people who see the shorts or whatever in the algorithm see me the first time, they're like, this guy is a dork. Yeah, he's like, don't you know that Hollywood is run by pedophile? It's like, and it sucks. It sucks. I don't want to sound like a nerd, okay? I already don't have a voice that's like 1,000 octaves low, but I sound like voice. I have to talk like this. It's not cool. All right. But anyways, guys, if you want to, so we're doing the Q&A portion. If you have questions or comments that you want read and answered, feel free to send it in via a super chat. Also, can someone please, I need someone's help here. Okay. Someone click the Streamlabs link and test it out, okay? We haven't gotten a single one there tonight, which whenever I try to do an alternative processor, I get it. But someone, like literally, can we get someone just at least send $1? I need to make sure this works, okay? I need to make sure this works because I was trying to just do a test dono myself and it wouldn't process it, and we need someone to test this out, okay? We need someone to make the sacrifice. Let me send it again, okay? If someone else could try this thing and see if it works, because it won't work for me. You can integrate it with PayPal, so you don't even have to put in your card. Just click the PayPal thing. And can someone tell me if this alternative processor works? Because if it does, we can start pushing that harder. If it doesn't, then I need to try to fix it. But again, a Q&A portion, feel free to send them in via the super chats here. Michael says Tucker got taken off of Fox News. Correct. Yes. That is what we are streaming about. That is correct. Rupert Murdoch made a mistake. I don't even know if Fox had the biggest choice in it. Like I said, it might be linked to this whole lawsuit situation. If I were to guess, Quinn says I'll donate you my college fund. Well, I appreciate it, Quinn. I appreciate it. Let's go. Round of applause for Quinn, ruining his life to send me donations. Let's go. We love the dedication. We love the dedication. Aaron says Ukraine has all my money. Yeah, Joe Brandon has all my money. Okay. We had tax day 6 days ago. Speaking of that, income tax should be abolished. You know, I think everyone agrees with that. Like, not a single person thinks income tax and is like, wow, we love this thing. We love to do this. But it really is immoral when you think about it. Because first of all, why should you have to calculate to the government how much money you owe it, right? Why should you have to do that? They pay you all this time for all this whatever, and then you have to keep track of how much money you owe the federal government. The federal government just can't just come to you and tell you how much money you owe. But at the same time, if you don't calculate it the right amount, they're going to get mad at you and penalize you. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you know, the idea that you work hard, you take all this money, and then you have to take it out of your checking account to freaking pay it. Income tax. If I were Emperor of America, but how are you going to fund the government? I don't know. We seem to fund the government for hundreds of years before income tax. So, you know, what I would say is you could do a national sales tax. Okay, you do a consumption tax. Okay, I think that's fair. That's reasonable. Maybe do a national sales tax. Doesn't have to be ridiculous, right? But just something that funds the government. You know, funds the roads. We got to pay the roads. Okay, then do a national sales tax. And also tariffs. What about you know how this country used to make most of its tax revenue? Tariffs, right? Imports. Things imported to our... So they would tax basically other countries and raise money that way. What's wrong with that? What was so bad about that? But now, oh, you know, free trade, all this stuff, so we can't do that. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. Income tax is just a bottom tier policy. Yeah, no, real. Can we claim Zelensky as a dependent? Yes, we absolutely should. That's what I should have said. That's what I should have said. I mean, I managed to get, you know, I'm a 1099, so it's the nice part about my situation is, you know, it's called we do a little write-offs. Okay, we do a little writing off, but it's still is just deeply immoral. Mr. Iceland for 750 ISK says, my uncle is one of the best politicians in Iceland. Thank you for the 750, Mr. Iceland. What's his name? We'll look him up and give him a shout out on the stream right now. Just tell me his name. Actually, do we have 2 Icelandicers or 1? No, it's 1, right? Mr. Rat is from Sweden. Our Nordic viewership is increasing. Let's go. Shout out to the Nords. We love the Nords. Here in Europe, I'm currently paying 55% in income tax. You're paying 55% in income tax? What kind of 55% income tax? Unbelievable. All right, here we go. We got some Streamlabs donations going on here. Let me check them. I'll check them out in a second. I'm also trying to see how exactly to access them. So that's the other thing we're trying to test out here, but let's see. Is it here, I think? But how do you 55% of your income goes to taxes? Like, chat, could you imagine? Okay, Americans in chat, could you? Because that's pretty normal in Europe. Could you guys imagine that? Could you guys imagine you lose 55% of your income to taxes plus Social Security? You wonder why Europe has no when's the last time an innovation came out of Europe? You know, why would you innovate? Oh, I get it. You have social programs though. Okay, fine. Then basically what everyone in Europe lives like is just like, you know, a couch-sitting socialist or whatever, because that's all you can do. Because there's no point in going out and making money. They're going to take half of it, so you might as well just live off all your government benefits, you know. 55%. 55%. All right, here. Let me look at the tips here. Okay, here we are. All right, that's how you access it. All right, let's get caught up here on the Streamlabs donation. Thank you guys, some of you guys, for helping out with this. Okay, we're checking the Streamlabs donations. Real Text and Politics for $1 says test. Okay, so it does work. All right. Big Vince Fan for $5 says, Hey Vince, haven't caught you lately. Do you have a typical stream schedule? I used to have one, and now we just do it's all over the place. Okay, the normal stream schedule is every night, weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's a normal one. Now we changed the times around because it's all chaos, okay? But listen, normally 8 p.m. Eastern time. I moved it up today for the like the newsworthy sense, and you know, I think it actually was a good call because the viewership tonight was pretty good. But normally 8 p.m. Eastern time. Now, like I said, the summer is so the reason we do it at 8 p.m. is because I need the time in the day to set it up, right? But like I said, summer is coming up soon, so I'll have a little more time. I'm also getting faster at just preparing the show, right? When I was first starting, it took me a lot longer. Now I can get it done faster because I'm, getting better at that stuff. So would you guys like for us over the summer to push the start time up? In fact, let me do a poll. Let me do a poll in the chat. This will not be the formal poll. I'm going to ask everyone because it is biased. Obviously, if you're watching it right now, you're probably are able to catch it. But should we move the normal start time? All right, let's see here. No, keep it 8 p.m. Eastern time. See, there's benefits and drawbacks. So the benefit of 8 p.m. is it's prime time. So theoretically, it should be best for viewership because everyone gets off work, everyone gets off school, blah, 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 etc., etc. The drawback is also that it's prime time. So because it's prime time, it interferes with, like, I know Timcast, they go live at 8 p.m. and I have this one guy always attack me for it. He's always like, "You're an idiot. Why do you compete with Tim Pool?" And he gets very angry. He gets very angry at me. He said I was a quote retard for doing that. So there's that. There's a lot of streams going on, and it's not really a unique time slot. But the other issue is that because it's so late, when big stuff breaks throughout the day, you're like the last one to talk about it, right? Because most political news happens when? The afternoon, morning, Eastern time. If you're waiting all the way to 8 p.m., you're kind of the last one to catch the news and talk about the news. And so, as an independent person, if you were to kind of weigh out the benefits and drawbacks, overall, it's probably not the best time slot for me. Because, like I said, it's prime time, and I'm not at the prime time level of relevance. But it's also, I understand it's probably the easier time slot to watch because everyone's home and it's not during anyone's work, whatever, school. So I don't know. I was thinking maybe 7, move it up an hour to 7, but let's see what the poll says. Okay, so the poll seems to agree. The most popular answer right now is 7 p.m. So, okay, good to know. So that's probably, like, not this week anytime soon, but maybe starting in May, most likely. May, maybe second week of May, whatever. So that's probably what we'll do then over the summer. I'll put out a formal poll and kind of see again. But, yeah, most likely we'll move at least over the summer and probably just end up keeping it the start time of the show to 7. But for this week, we're going to continue doing it at 8, most likely. Although, I don't know. I mean, I suppose we could try to start doing it this week, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. But for now, we'll probably end up moving it to 7 and, go from there. 7:14 Eastern. Well, that is true too. And then we can go live at 7:14. That's another thing to consider. All right. Again, we're reading super chats if you want to support the show here. Mr. Iceland for 750 says, your uncle's name, who I guess is a based politician in Iceland, so shout out to him, is Sigmundur David Gunnlaugsson, and the party is the Miðflokkurinn. Okay, is that how you're supposed to say it? Is that how we're supposed to say it? Sigmundur David Gunnlaugsson from the Miðflokkurinn party. Okay. All right, very cool. Very, very cool name. All right, round of applause. We love your uncle, Mr. Sigmundur David Gunnlaugsson. I don't even think I'm saying it right. Okay, let's try to actually say it correctly and not like satirically German. Sugmundir. I don't even know like how you Davidi Gunlogson. 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 Mr. Iceland says no, it is okay. No, that's I just said it with an American accent. Alright, how are you supposed to actually pronounce it then? Sigmundir Gunlogson. Gunlogson. Alright, we will make him Emperor of Iceland. He will cross the Rubicon Ice River. And we will do that. Dollar for Dollar sends a $1 donation on Streamlabs and says, let's abolish the 16th and 19th Amendment. Thank you for the $1 dollar for dollar. Let's see here. 5 is impossible for me. Well, people are saying 7, so we'll probably do that. We're gonna go up to 7, and you know that makes my sleep schedule easier too. Because usually I have a harder time like falling asleep within a few hours of doing the show because like adrenaline goes up when I'm doing it. So yeah. Anyways, let's get these streamed to 200 likes, and again, we'll go for about 10 more minutes here. Any questions or comments you want read and answered, or you want to support the show, feel free to send it in as a super chat, and feel free to send it in here on the Streamlabs link, so that way, because we know it's working. We know it's working. The pinned link in my live chat, we know it's working now. So like I said, I keep more of that. YouTube doesn't take 70%, and it's integrated with PayPal. Which, the moment we get banned from PayPal, I don't know what's going to happen. But for now, we are not. So, you know, you can integrate it there, so that way, you know, you don't have to put in your card, because I get annoyed doing that too. But yeah. Dollar for Dollar says chess. All right, we're not doing chess right now. I'll play you later. I'll pay you. Oh, copy and paste it onto Google Translate and make it speak. That is a possibility. Let's do that. Let's do that. So that way I stop butchering this Icelandic language. All right, let's see. Let's see here. Google Translate. What's the actual language? It's not Icelandic, right? It's what does Denmark speak? Finnish? Or no, it's Finland? Dutch? Is it? I don't actually know. What's the language of Denmark? I have no idea. What do you Denmark? Okay. Oh, Icelandic is a language. Okay. I didn't know it was like actually a language. I thought it was. Okay, interesting. Okay.
Sigmundur Davíð Gunnlaugsson Miðflokkurinn. Sigmundur Davíð Gunnlaugsson Miðflokkurinn.
What?
Sigmundur Davíð Gunnlaugsson Miðflokkurinn.
Sigmundur Davíð Gunnlaugsson Miðflokkurinn. Wow. I'm a real Icelandic warrior now, guys. I was able to say Sigmundur
Davíð Gunnlaugsson Miðflokkurinn.
She says it so fast though. Like how am I supposed to keep up with this? Vince killed the entire Nordic race with those comments. All right, listen here.
Sigmundur Davíð Gunnlaugsson Miðflokkurinn.
Like it's so I can't even. I'm not even gonna try. How?
Sigmundur Davíð Gunnlaugsson Miðflokkurinn.
Okay, wait. Apparently, I can like. Oh wait. Never mind. Never mind.
Don't show up.
Okay. Okay. I don't know what I just did. Okay. Well, that's how you say his name. I don't stand a chance trying to figure out how to say that, but. All right. Last call for super chats. Close out your tabs now, because we're gonna end the stream here in 5 minutes. Let me check. Anything on Streamlabs? Nothing, but we just got dollar for dollars. Wonderful comment sitting there on the Streamlabs link. Very cool. Very epic. Tekis Sportsman said, I would not make it in Iceland. Yeah, me neither. How do you even say that? Sigmund Iceland. Okay. But they probably speak English there because all the Europeans are multilingual, unlike us uncivilized Americans. So, you know, they probably know how to understand us at least. I probably wouldn't make it in Iceland because it's cold. What are we supposed to even do there? Whopper, 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 Junior, Double, Triple Whopper. Yeah, exactly. See, that's what I know how to say, okay? So, Mr. Iceland, since you taught me your language, let me teach you a little bit of American here, okay? All right. So, you have single, we have this, okay? This is our culture. So this is a cultural exchange with Mr. Iceland, okay? Here you go. All right.
Whopper, 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 Junior.
See, this is American culture.
Real taste with perfect toppers. I rule this day. Lettuce, mayo, pickle, ketchup. It's okay if I don't want that. Impossible.
Whatever you just said, like, this is our version of that, okay, Mr. Iceland?
So bowl or bacon, Whopper, any Whopper my way.
This is, you know, when you really think about it, this is like this is our quasi-national anthem at this point. You know, because the whole country knows it. Probably more people in our country know the Whopper song more than our national anthem. And, you know, what do you think? It's like one of the last great things about America, right? Like, it's actually a good song. It's not even a bad song. It's actually good, right? I don't see any gay stuff in this. You know, there's no... It's just a man and his burger. It is just Whopper, Whopper, at BK, have it your day. So this is real. Okay, so you got that, Mr. Iceland. That is, you know, if you just sing that in the United States, like, people will be like, oh, he's one of us, you know? That's what you... So when you move to the United States, just... Someone asks you, oh, well, blah, 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 well, hi, how can I help you? Just, this is the code, right? This is like our password. So you just say... Whopper, 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 and then, you know, you just do that. And then if they're not convinced, you just say the end part, right? At BK, have it your way, you rule. So that's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. Okay? Jiffer says BK is about two meats rubbing other meats, not gay. You're the one making it weird, Jiffer. Okay, it's, first of all, they're single patties, so that's not even true. And then secondly, what is the alternative? The Impossible Whopper? Actually, I'm looking at the commercial right now. Do you know what's not even on the promotional graphic? The Impossible Whopper. Okay, that's more gay than any of your double patties. Okay. Tekka says you won't get copyrighted. Well, if I do, I'll just mute it, and then people will watch it on the replay and be like, what is that? Andrew Mills says, wow, Vince can sing. Can I? Can I actually sing? I'm sick. I feel like that's not a best example of my singing voice, but it does work. It does work. And BK, have it your way. You rule. Burger King, very quite liberal, though. I don't care. Yeah, every corporation is liberal. How are you gonna look at me and say that the Whopper song is not the last great thing about this country? Okay, what? I'm sorry, I want something to be proud of. What do you want me to be proud of then? If not the Whopper song, because what else do we have? What else do we have? Top Gun 2, right? Like what do we have as a country we can say that's America? Okay, let me keep my Whopper song. Stop overthinking it. Okay, Whopper, 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 Whopper. Hey. BK is a liberal corporation. Shut up. Whopper, Whopper, Whopper. All right? All right, this is what we are doing. This is what we are doing. Okay? I don't want to hear your excuse. They're liberal. Hey, you can... Whopper. Whopper, 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 Whopper. At BK. Have it your way. You rule. So true. Okay, I don't want to hear the complaining anymore. But all right, guys, with that said, thank you for tuning in to tonight's emergency episode of the show. If we got no more Super Chats, then I will call it a night, and I'll see you guys live during the normal time slot. Unless, should we start doing the 7 p.m. thing this week? I don't know. We'll figure it out, and probably not yet. Lance says, what did I tune into? Well, I'm having a debate here because I was just trying to say that the Whopper song is one of the last great things about our country. The one guy said it was gay. Another guy said that it was liberal. And I'm just trying to defend the honor of having your way at BK. Okay? They said I rule. Okay? I rule. All right, dollar for $2 says we have dollar, Whopper, and lemons. It is so true. It is so true. All right, guys, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to everyone who tuned in tonight. We will go back to doing it normally at 8 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. But until then, everyone be sure to leave a like before you go. Let's get to 200 likes before we go. And until next time, folks, Alpha moves only. Have a very good night. See you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern time. God bless. And peace. Thank you for the 20, Mr. Rat.
Whopper, junior, double, triple, Whopper, flame grill taste with perfect toppers. I rule this day. Lettuce, mayo, pickle, ketchup, it's okay if I don't want that impossible or bacon. Whopper, any Whopper my way. You rule your season today at
BK. Have it your way. You rule. Many are saying this. Many are saying this. So true.